When you play a level in Geometry Dash, it's always the same, and sometimes that can get kind of boring. So today, I made 2 randomly generated levels, a classic version and a platformer version. Okay, so there's a lot of levels to get through, but let's just start with RNG1. So this is very simple. There's just one part or 2 parts that are randomly generated. So if we play through this again, you'll see that this time it's different. Look, there's a dash orb now, right? And then the first jump was also different. So this is the first level I made with the randomly generated, just testing stuff out, right? So this is actually the method I used later on. Basically, I have on layer 0, I have a spike. On layer 1, I have the block. On layer 2, I have this. And then ignore this part for now. This is just the other structure. We're gonna start with this one. So this advanced random trigger has 4, 5, and 6. That is these 3 toggle triggers. This toggle trigger is on 4, this is on 5, this is on 6. So basically this has a random chance of toggling 1, 2, or 3, which is these guys. So it spawns a random one out of these. So it spawned this one, where is it? This one right here. But if we go again this time, it spawned this one, which is this one right here. And then I did the same thing with this, except I made it a little bit longer. And so that's how I did this first thing. And then you'll see it turns into a full level when you copy paste it over and over. Of course, this is a lot simpler than the final product, but as you can see, it's very random. So you have just a bunch of random parts being put together. Not really put together though. It's actually just a bunch of parts that are already there, and then it toggles on one of the 3 parts. So that's how I made the random level for this one. And then after that, I already know that it all works, so I went to RNG3 where I made a bunch of different parts. So there's this wave. It's like a lot more out there too. It's not that simple. So there's like different game modes. There's the ball portal. There is some orbs, spider. We have a triple spike, 2 triple spikes. So basically it's just the same thing, but I made the part like a lot bigger. And then RNG4, I extended all of them. So as you can see, they all start and end at the same point. If we go to 0, you'll see that it starts and ends right here. And 1, it starts and ends right here, right? So this is useful for not creating super big pauses. And it's kind of less obvious that it's a bunch of parts just put together. So now, here's the final classic version, not the platformer version, random generation. So, as you can see, there's just all of the parts, and I just copy pasted it, and you'll see that it looks a little bit less randomly generated. You can still kind of tell how I did it, but I think it's a lot better. And this is just a concept, it's not perfect, but I feel like it's a pretty cool idea. And we're just gonna try to beat it real quick. So we have a UFO part, we have the cube and orbs part, and then let's try to beat this. So we have triple spike, and then let's try to beat this. We have orbs, we have some jumps, we have robot, we have spider, we have orbs, we have jumps, we have a wave part, then more jumps, UFO, spider, cube, and UFO. So I think this is a pretty cool idea. It's still the same part, so if you play it enough times, it can still get boring like a normal level, where you play it and it's always the same. So that can kind of get boring. This can get boring too, but I think it takes longer. Let me reword that for you, Jesse. It has more replayability. And there's definitely things you can do if you make it even more random. But this is just a concept. And then we have platformer RNG. So we're in platform mode. And then this is completely randomly generated. The gameplay, it's just every single block can spawn a spike. I could have done other things too, like blocks and stuff. But the reason I did spikes is because if we're the mini ship, we can go in between these guys, like this. So it's always going to be possible, but it will be harder sometimes. Now, this one took a lot longer, but I'm going to try to show you how I did it. So we're going to start off by looking up here. It looks very complicated, but it's not the most complicated thing. Starting off, very simple. I just made a border. I just made you a ship in free mode. I made a static trigger so the camera doesn't move. Very simple stuff. You do this all the time in platformer levels. But then I took a spike added a group, toggled the group off, and then put something that toggles it on, very similar to the classic level, and then had a random trigger, not an advanced one this time, just a random trigger to spawn it. So this spike has a 10% chance of spawning. Then I took the toggle off, the toggle on, and the random trigger, and the spike, and then I copy pasted it and build helpers, and then I did this throughout the whole thing. So yeah, basically it toggles off every single spike individually, and then all these toggle on triggers have a random trigger that has a 10% of spawning the spike. So pretty simple, but you might notice there's a lot of random triggers. That's because if you select multiple random triggers, right, you can't change the values. So I just decided to make them all 10%, and then so I could just copy paste them, and then now it's, if I put 5 of these 10% things, then it's 50%. So not the most optimized, but I can change it without having to change each one. And it turned out pretty good, actually. I like how I also moved them so it looks like it's generating, which is kind of cool. And I think this one turned out a lot better. So as you can see, it generates it, and you need to get into the top right. I'll probably put an indicator there. And then, as you can see, it gets hard sometimes, but sometimes you get something a little bit easier. So I'm gonna go through. So right here, I can go in between here, and then I can go through here, and then up here, and then in here. And then I beat the level. Pretty cool. So yeah, we also have number 2, which is bigger. So this one is, it's a lot more buggy too, but basically I just copy pasted it, so it's bigger. It definitely looks a lot cooler too, but you can see a little bit more of the random generation here. And if you look at the editor, it actually kind of looks crazy. All of the toggle triggers, all of the random triggers. It uses 2,120 objects, so that's not bad. All right, so let's try to beat this bigger one. I removed the attempts and put a little end box so we know where the end is. If you have any maze solving skills, you'll realize that we have to go through some kind of spikes because this is all blocked off. So what I'll do is I'll go over here, and then you know what, actually, if I can get in between these spikes, I can go all the way up and then just go to the end. So we just need to get in between. Let's try this again. It looks a little bit hard. I don't know. Let's just try it. Let's go up here. This is kind of a bunch of free area. We need to get to the right side, and then we need to get in between spikes to get to the end. That's kind of the main thing you usually do. Let me try to get in between these spikes. Oh, yes. Okay, I'm in between spikes now. So we can go anywhere because there's no offset spikes. I can go right here on the bottom, and then if I can kind of squeeze between these spikes. Oh, we beat it. Nice. Okay, so that's the bigger version. I already verified. Oh, I guess I haven't. Let's verify the small version too. It shouldn't be too hard. Okay. All right, so this one looks pretty easy. I just have to go right here and then up to the end. Nice. All right, so yeah, sometimes it's easier. All right, so the first level, random generation, the classic version. The ID is 116553992. And then now we have the smaller version of the platformer level. The ID is 116554034. And then now we have platform generate big, which is the bigger version of the platforming generating level. The ID is 116554080. And that's all the levels. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. This was pretty fun to make. It's kind of just an idea about how levels are sometimes boring when you play them over and over. So it would be cool if more levels included a randomly generating element to make it more fun every time you play. Of course, the way I did it is a bit luck-based, and maybe some people don't like that, but there's a bunch of different ways you can do it, and this is just one of the ways.